People keep asking what's the next book they need to read, and the answer is very simple. It's Storm of Secrets and Sorrow by Melissa K. Rorick.
In a world created for the descendants of gods, where the Fae are born to serve, a woman bound to the air of death fights fate and desire. Storm of Secrets and Sorrow is book 2 of the best-selling Book Talk sensation, a contemporary dark romantasy legacy series for fans of Sarah J. Maas, Kaylee Smith, and Rebecca Yarros.
The second I knew that this book had me was when I realized it had gods, dragons, shifters, vampires, and witches. It has it all for you.
It even has my favorite tropes like morally gray characters, meddling gods, forced proximity, touch her or him and die, one bed, one horse, he falls first, enemies with benefits, like you can't go wrong.
And everyone knows that it is fantastic because the first book was independently published back in 2023, and the series was a #1 Amazon bestseller with nearly 40,000 Goodread reviews and 16,000 Amazon reviews as of 2025. So you know it's grown even more.
And when it was published traditionally, it was an instant New York Times bestseller.
Make sure you get your copy today of Storms of Secrets and Sorrow. It has an incredible deluxe special edition with stenciled edges, a beautiful foil-stamped hardcover, exclusive design with illustrated end papers, and full-color character art.
You can find Storm of Secrets and Sorrow by Melissa K. Rorick wherever books are sold in print and in ebook.
I recently discovered 11 Reader because a fun fact about me that a lot of people don't know is that I have a reading disability. I have always struggled with reading and concentration, and when it comes to things like PDFs or things that I really need to focus on, 11 Reader has really come in handy.
The fact that I can upload my own content, I have so many business memos I have to read every day.
And then it reads it to you, and you get to choose the voice that reads it to you. You get to have a British accent reading those documents to you.
And I just retain so much more.
I really love the voices. Having a British accent whisper sweet nothings about legal documents to me keeps me going.
Start free with 10 hours of your own content per month. And that's essentially a 400-page book turned into audio for free.
Upgrade to Ultra for $11 a month and unlock unlimited uploads plus 20 hours of premium audiobooks every month. No credits, no commitments. It's really the ultimate listening app when you can't get enough. Being able to retain information is really hard for me when I'm reading certain difficult documents. And I really can't emphasize enough to you guys how much 11 Reader has helped me review so many things for the podcast.
Whether you're writing your own book, you have a lot of documents to go through, or you want to listen to audiobooks, choose 11 Reader and use promo code PODCAST to get your first 2 months for only $1.
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. We are preparing our literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's House of Flame and Shadow, the third installment of her Crescent City series. This is what we are calling our Surviving Not Thriving season, because life's hard, and we're here to take like a little break, and we're recording, so it's not really a break, but we're just doing things that make us happy, and hopefully it makes you happy. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and today we're discussing vampirism and the romance genre. I don't know why I'm the person saying this, because I'm not the person who's leading the discussion.
The views expressed by the hosts are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel. The interpretations presented in this podcast are just a few of many possibilities. Listeners are encouraged to share their own analysis of the text.
What text are we referring to?
I'm going to be talking about 50 Shades of Twilight,
Okay.
Just text, just general text.
Spoilers may be discussed with or without warning. Explicit language as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. If you're enjoying the podcast, check out our Patreon for more exclusive content. You can find us at patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk.
So I was thinking about like a bunch of different options of what to discuss, and all of them were really cool. But then I realized it required more work than I was willing to give, because this whole point is that we are surviving, not thriving. So I dipped my toe back into my dissertation, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. And you might be like, hey, didn't you do an episode like this for SSJ? You being Amy. And the answer to that is not really, because last time I did like just more of a general discussion. This is going to be going more into the romance genre and with Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. And Amy has no idea what I'm talking about.
Nope. I'm just here to look pretty and occasionally say words.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you'll know when to say words. We are starting from the beginning.
It's a very good place to start.
Some might say the best place to start, and I'd agree with them. And what beginning is that? So I wrote my master's dissertation on the gender politics of vampirism and how that DNA shows up almost exactly beat for beat in the romance genre. And the reason why I want to talk about this today isn't just like, oh my God, vampires are romantic, LOL. It's something a little bit more uncomfortable than that. Let's make you feel uncomfy. Now, again, this is all from like a 2012 perspective, so I'm going to attempt to kind of put more modern thoughts to this. But my argument originally, and I'm going to walk you through this the same way that I walked my very British supervisor through this, is that the vampire and the romance hero are not just similar archetypes, they are actually the same figure, the same blueprint. And once you see that blueprint, you start to notice the thing that romance novels, which they often call love, amore, is structurally identical to the thing that vampires call predation. Predatory. Just creepy, like
being predatory.
Predatory, yeah. Those were my things. One of the things I saw on TikTok was like how through all this like media of vampires, we can't decide on where the teeth land. Like that's just the one thing we can't figure out. Now, I'm going to use two case studies. Everyone in this audience, I'm going to pretend like you guys know. That's Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. And I know we've made our jokes about Edward being creepy and climbing through windows, all of which stands. But I want to get into the mechanics of why 2012 Jack was concerned about Edward. And it's something that for decades, critics are also concerned about, and why it matters that one of these books, aka Twilight, literally gave birth to 50 Shades of Grey. Before we get into Edward and Christian Grey, we need to talk about the vampire, because the gender stuff is like baked into the vampire stuff. So vampire folklore goes back to prehistoric times. It's very classic lore, and it shows up in all cultures around the world. Before the word vampire even existed, the concept was there. And the word itself doesn't show up until the early 1700s, but before that, these stories were more about the dead coming back to life and then draining the living. And of course, in like true human nature, we turned them sexy and hot.
Of course.
That was not the case. There was a researcher, Paul Barber. This is all from like my cited stuff where I'm like, oh my God, I sound so smart, but that was past me who did this. And he researched the folklore description, and they were considered bloated, discolored, and blood literally trickling out of their noses and mouth.
Like true dead bodies.
Like true dead bodies. What do we do with it? We turn them into the vampire Lestat, and you want to fuck them. So,
well, I mean, but that's what a predator is. A predator is attractive. Look at well, peacocks are not predators, but they could be.
Oh my God. We just discovered Amy's fear of peacocks.
But it is camouflage.
Yeah. Now, the shift happened. Funny enough, we talked a lot about Carmilla, but what we didn't talk about is the novella called The Vampire. And I forgot about that until I was going over my notes, and I was like, oh yeah, that would have been like relevant.
Oh well.
Oopsies. So it's a novella that was written in 1819 called The Vampire by John William Polidori. And this is the moment that like we start to get the formation of the vampire, right? Because the vampire starts to become charming. They're an aristocrat. They're seductive. And just like a quick rundown, it's actually like kind of a romantic story, but not really, where like one guy's like traveling around and he was like, spring break, woo, right? But it's like aristocrat and it's like 18 something, right? And he meets like this other frat bro and they go traveling around Europe. And then one day he was like, hey, bro, you're weird. I'm going to bounce. So he goes and he falls in love with this Italian chick. And obviously this is the human. Italian chick dies. Blood missing. He gets sick. Before he knows, vampire frat bro comes back, nurses him back to health. Vampire like guy dies and says, before I die, promise me that you will not speak of my death for 1 year and 1 day. And then he was like, that's a really weird request, but okay. So he goes back to England and then, or think England, it's always England, right? He goes back home and then he sees the guy and he was like, and mind you, when he goes, I promise my friend, he laughs and dies. So it's like, you know, that's creepy. And then he comes back and is like, hey, turns out I'm alive and you can't tell anyone because you promised. And now I'm going to marry your sister. And what does he do? He decides to get married to his sister on the day that he's allowed to confess the secret. And he has a nervous breakdown. And then by the time he like comes to, his sister's gotten married and is dead and the vampire went away. Also, I do remember there was some like, in my opinion, a little bit of gay vibes in there too. So, but again, just kind of like setting up the structure or the history. Because then in 1897, we have Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it starts to really lock things in. As we talked about, there was Carmilla before that. Now, here's the part that matters for us. And I do want to emphasize this is going to be a different lens and perspective that I'm taking from Amy's conversation. So this is talking about like gender stereotypes and very like heteronormative terms. I'm still going to mention like some queer moments, but like, well, last time it was like queer. This is not so much. So from Dracula and going forward, vampires are split cleanly among the gender lines. Male vampires are seductive, they're in control, they're dangerous, but they're disciplined. Female vampires are just as strong, just as hungry, but framed as sexual deviants who can't control themselves. I feel like you can still see that in Carmilla, how she's just like littering the entire world, like dead women, you know, versus Dracula kind of like keeps shit to himself. Now, the female vampire, as I was saying, is that they are incapable of handling their hunger, their sexual desires, and that is very often depicted with Dracula's harem, really. The 3 female vampires in the novel, they're called the sisters. They're also called, like, in general, I think the brides of Dracula.
Yeah, the brides.
Yeah. And in Coppola's 1992 film adaptation, it actually shows this, like, really explicit scene and how the sisters are trying to seduce Jonathan Harker and they're licking him and biting him. And they don't speak a single word throughout the whole scene.
Yeah, I think almost ever.
Yeah. They're just like moaning, right? Meanwhile, Dracula never loses composure, right? And then as we talked about with Carmilla, Carmilla is the female vampire archetype, and she is drawn sexually to the human protagonist, Laura. And the whole horror of her character is that she cannot control her desire. So by the time we get to the 20th century, we've already built this full template, right? You have Dracula, like the epitome of masculinity turned up to 11, where he has that strength, that control, that hunger that he only chooses to act on. And then we have the Carmilla, the female vampire, who is femininity's worst fear of itself, right? It's desire without the leash. That is the inherited code that every single vampire story kind of comes from, whether the author knows it or not. And then that brings us to Twilight. It said, leave space for Amy, but you.
No, I think, and you're probably going to get to this, the fact that the female vampire is viewed as almost an antagonist with lack of control, which is against societal norms. Basically, we could describe as the other woman in any romance, right?
You can see it in Twilight as Victoria. Is the other woman. And we will get into that a little bit more because now we're going to shift into Twilight. And, you know, Edward Cullen is basically Dracula in a cardigan. So, quick refresher for whatever reason, someone's like blocked out Twilight, the plot, which like, why would you? I actually love Twilight. Okay, so two things can be true here, right? I can see some issues and I can adore this movie and book. So, Bella moves to Forks, Washington, falls for Edward, discovers he and his family are vampires, but they only drink animal blood, spends 4 books almost dying repeatedly before marrying him, getting pregnant, nearly dying again, and becoming a vampire herself.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but our girl gets to have sex, so, you know.
Finally.
She finally reaches and achieves her dream that she had from the beginning, from the first book. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. Excuse us while we hydrate.
It has now reached a point that if I don't have my Vionics with me, any of my Vionics with me on a trip, I know that trip is ruined.
My Vionic shoes are my go-to no matter what I'm doing. I just got this City Walk sneaker in black leather and suede, and I cannot tell you how many compliments I've gotten. They are so cute and so comfortable.
So cute. We wore them to a market and you were so mad that it got dusty and dirty and you went home and took care of them. That's how much you love your Vionics.
I've done that to all 3 pairs of my Vionics. As soon as there's a little mark on them, I go home, I wash them because they are perfect.
To add to my Vionic collection, I have the Larissa flats. And unlike the flats that we grew up with that absolutely destroyed my feet, Vionic shoes are powered by Viomotion technology to balance the whole you. Larissa is a contemporary wedged flat that blends modern style with effortless comfort. I tell ya, and my feet are able to withstand walking in them.
And I love the little square toe that they have. I'm a big fan of square toes. What's great about the City Walk sneaker and the Larissa flat, they're great for summer, they're great for fall. Honestly, you can get away with them all year round. Even better, Vionic Shoes offers a 30-day guarantee. Wear them, love them, or return them. Why would you? But you get a full refund within 30 days if you do.
Use code BOOKTALK at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account. It's a one-time use only.
Vionic Shoes, wearable well-being for your feet.
Stephenie Meyer has said publicly, though, that people accuse her of being anti-female. And her response to this is, I'm not anti-female, I'm anti-human. Okay.
Okay.
We have a lot of feelings because we know Stephenie Meyer is Mormon.
She is no longer active, but the only reason why she's no longer active, allegedly, is because she got too big and people kept bugging her for autographs at church. And that's why she stopped going to church.
I actually believe that.
I don't blame her.
Yeah.
But
the sentiment's all still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But funny enough is that her quote is almost the whole thesis of my dissertation in one sentence, in a way, because it tells you exactly where Meyer places value, not on women, not on humans, but on the vampires, right? So whatever traits she gives the vampires are the traits she finds desirable. And all those traits are very, very traditional in masculinity and femininity. Edward is described as having a body that is, quote, muscled like a serious weightlifter. I forgot that that's how he was described. Because in no world would I. And, you know, his features are straight, perfect, angular. Bella literally compares him to an airbrush fashion magazine model. And then you remember it's Robert Pattinson and you're just like, you know, he's an attractive man, but like Edward, he is not.
Yeah.
And then there's like, again, a lot of people have actually talked about Twilight in a very serious academic way because there's a literary critic, Pramod Nair, who has this great line that Meyer's vampire masculinity, quote, draws upon not the traditional Gothic or horror fiction vampire, but the airbrush masculinity of lifestyle magazines. He calls it Meyer's, quote, domesticating the vampire, and that Edward isn't scary because he looks like a monster. He's scary and desirable because he looks like a Calvin Klein ad who can kill you but chooses not to.
Like Armie Hammer, but he would kill you.
Yeah. That's his goal. I don't know why Amy's my favorite cannibal. Like, there's just something when all of that came out. And like, I feel bad for like, obviously the women who were abused and the survivors.
Obviously.
Like, we don't feel that, but we were just like so blown away. And we're like, this is so weird that the only way we could process that onslaught of information was like laugh. And it was like, I think during COVID too. So
it was while we were doing Up to Date Late.
So it was during COVID or early COVID. So I think it was just, there's something about us having just like lost it with that.
Yeah, it's true.
So all of this is the whole engine of romance, right? Edward spends the entire series exercising what my dissertation calls restraint and control. He wants to kill Bella, specifically. Her blood calls to him more than any human he's ever met, and he holds back. Meanwhile, Bella's struggling with her desire to fuck. Again, very Carmilla of her, because she is not restrained. But at the same time, we also have the actual female vampire, Victoria, and she's the antagonist here. And the first time she's described as cat-like, she has these like feline features almost. And she's filled with leaves and debris, and her, eyes are shifting restlessly. And we're getting that comparison, right? Edward is Dracula. He is composed and dangerous. Victoria is Carmilla, wild, sexualized, no restraint. And Meyer thinks she's writing something new, when in actuality, it's like
perpetuating.
This is a, copy rinse
paste.
and repeat. Yeah. And here's where it gets interesting, because Meyer does do one thing that's really different. And I argue in my dissertation that this is like where it totally changes the vampire genre, and something that she does that's unique. Whether that's good or not is debatable. And that is the fact that she, quote unquote, saves the female vampire. She saves women, because she splits female vampires and the women in this series into two types. There's Victoria, the Carmilla, right? Dangerous, unredeemable. But then there's Esme, who is the Cullen's family's adoptive mother, who's nurturing, who's stable, and she's the emotional glue of the family. And even another literary critic, Anna Silver, pointed out that Meyer sets Esme up directly against Bella's actual mother, Renee, throughout the entire series, because Renee is flighty, she's absent, she's focused on her own life. Meanwhile, Esme literally lives for her family.
Right. I have opinions on that.
Would you like to say them?
Sure. I mean, in a lot of ways, if I wanted to spend all day doing this, I would argue that the Cullens are Mormon values, and Bella has to be converted, right? And Victoria and that group are like the no longer active Mormons. They're sexualized. They're not in control. They just do whatever they want. Versus, especially with Esme, is the perfect Mormon woman.
Arguably, this entire book series is a fight between Mormons and Catholics. Because the Volturi are these old ancient beings in Italy who set the rules and they feast on blood. Like, aka the blood of Christ, aka wine. It's like, whatever you want to look at it, all roads point to Mormon values.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So then it turns out that like Stephanie Meyer's progress is that female vampires can be redeemed, but only if you embrace motherhood and not by having power on their own terms. Power in Twilight is only acceptable in women when it's in service of a child or a family. Bella herself only gets to be powerful, dangerous, and vampiric once she becomes a mother.
Right.
And she's taken seriously.
Right. Well, and that's not unlike just being able to have sex, being sexual. You are allowed to be sexual if it is for the purpose of multiplying and replenishing this earth with humans.
Yeah. Then you can have all the sex you want.
Right. Exactly. And so you can argue vampirism in Twilight is sexual awakening.
Yeah. I mean, you also have this idea that like, okay, right, sex, which we'll say is the exchanging of blood. Well, like that's the metaphor for that. Like drinking blood, it could be the exchange of blood. It's like within Twilight, it's like actually piercing, but then like backing off, right? Other vampires do it, right? The Alaskan section.
Yeah.
Then there's the like Victoria and everything. And that's essentially like, casual sex versus Edward saves his bite, aka sex, for Bella.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let's take a hard shift to 50 Shades of Grey, because it's not that hard of a shift, because 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James was a Twilight fan fiction originally called Master of the Universe. And it was an AU fanfic, which is alternate universe, and there was no vampires, there was no fantasy element. And she eventually kind of like made enough changes so that it's not copywritten completely. But you have the vampire romance hybrid that's still there in its bones, and it gets stripped to the pure romance genre. And then what's left over once you remove the fangs, right, is the skeleton, which both stories are equal. They have the same skeleton. And more than just the fact that it's because it's a fan fiction of it, you know, like there's more to this. So my dissertation breaks the concept of, quote, traditional soft romance formula versus strong romance. Like those are actual terms. Soft romance is like softer, you know, and then strong romance is like more hardcore.
More explicit?
It can be, but it's more of like intensity is the best way, you know, like rom-com versus billionaire mafia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be murder, but it just has to be like more strong and like, I think more check your trigger warnings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is a recipe here. So usually within romance, now it's changed, but I would argue not that much, where the female so the heroine, she's normally plain. You don't always get that now. Now you kind of have like, you know, we don't get the like, I'm just so ugly, but heroines are usually, back in the day, deliberately vague looking so that readers can project themselves onto her. And again, arguably, I think that you can kind of still say that. I think it's gotten better. You know, like I know what the women look like, but sometimes I think some of these stories where I'm like, you're a little too vague. But the things that are still similar that you'll see in romances is that you have the FMC is isolated. She has no real family. Maybe she has one or two friends. There's always the one best friend. And many times she is sexually inexperienced. And she falls for the hero who is rich and powerful and almost a little scary.
And very sexually
experienced. Now, Anastasia Steele, who is from 50 Shades of Grey, she has the brown hair, brown eyes, and is nothing remarkable. Again, this is a Twilight fan fiction, so she's taking off of Bella. But again, Bella is also described in a very plain way.
I also take offense to brown eyes, brown hair, not very remarkable, because that's what I was led to believe about myself my entire life.
I know. I mean, in the sense of like, I'm mad. I'm mad that, like, you know, I was like annoyed at my brown eyes for so long when I love my brown eyes now. And it's just kind of like, because they're so much more common, that's what they choose to be. But it's also, you're not going to get much more information than round face, brown eyes versus like MMCs. You're just like, there's a slight dimple. There's a one dimple here. There's a mole over there.
Yeah. His cheekbones could cut glass.
Straight nose, you know, like you get
scar over his eyebrow.
Every little detail.
Yeah.
When it comes to the like sexually inexperienced, Anastasia from 50 Shades, she has like 3 friends, right? And she's 21 and she's a virgin, which isn't like, you know, you're like, okay, that's older, but that's not like the shocking part.
Right.
It's when Christian asks her if she's ever pleasured herself and she says no.
Yeah. Not believable.
Like, homegirl hasn't discovered a bathtub or an electric toothbrush when you were like 14.
Yeah.
And you don't know what else to get.
Right. There's so many ways teenagers explore.
Right. We promise this is important. Capitalism, but make it brief.
I always forget how long summer is in California, and all of my work clothes are geared towards fall, winter. I need more summer appropriate staples.
I'm going to be going to Portugal at the end of this summer, and I need Quince to help me with summer vacation clothes because they have literally everything.
They make elevated essentials using premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, which is my personal favorite, without the traditional retail markup.
They also have amazing shoes. I got their ballerina Mary Jane flats in brown, and I will be walking Portugal in that the entire time. They are so comfortable.
I also recently discovered that they have really fabulous 14 karat gold jewelry. Everything is subtle, delicate, and just classy. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands because they work with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen. So you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup.
Quince has everything you need, from apparel to home to bedding to bath and all of the kitchen essentials and furniture. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier.
Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk.
Now, layer the vampire template on top of the romance template, and you start to see what happens to Christian Grey. He's not a vampire. There's obviously no fangs, no blood, but he needs to take control over Anastasia, what she eats, what she wears, even her health care at one point. And my argument is that the need to feed, the vampire's defining trait, gets translated into this need for control.
Mm-hmm.
Christian doesn't drain her blood. He drains her autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was like a great moment when I wrote that back in the day.
Good job.
Thank you.
Edward drains Bella's privacy.
No, autonomy too. He forces her to eat.
True. But
And
also
to
some
sleep.
privacy.
Yeah. Takes away her privacy, her autonomy. Like, it just starts to be painted in a very like sweet way. And there's also the concept where you were hinting to it earlier, the other woman figure. And there's always the other woman. There's also, I don't really talk about it here, but there's usually the man who is the better man, the better option. And it's the one that we look at and on paper, we go, that person should be the best person for you. He is nice. He's stable. And you can compare it to Dracula versus Jonathan, like the guy who comes to his house, right? Now, the other woman figure in 50 Shades of Grey is Elena, who introduced Christian to BDSM when he was 15 while she was an adult. Again, I have major issues with the fact that BDSM is considered like this bad, scary thing and is associated to predatory
Women.
Pedophilic relations. Yeah.
Which it's not inherently that way.
No.
But that's the perception.
Right. But Elena is sexually confident, experienced, and, God forbid, ambitious. Every trait the genre needs to mark a woman as the villain. Look at every Hallmark Christmas movie. If the FMC is this like high-powered lawyer and she's a city girl and she has ambition, she ends up quitting her job to move to the small town to open a Christmas tree farm.
Yep, exactly.
Because ambition is bad. And she's essentially Christian's Carmilla, and Anastasia gets to redeem everything because she chooses marriage and motherhood, which Elena never did. And that's what we're supposed to root for. And it's the same thing with Esme versus Victoria, right? Vampire metaphor removed, concept is still there. Let's take a sip. Now, I didn't write this originally because I did write it because it was fucking fun. I enjoyed the shit out of this dissertation when I wrote it. But the parallels reveal something that we as society should be uncomfortable with. And this is coming from someone who absolutely fucking loves dark romances. Okay? I say that. I say that knowing this about me. But here's some interesting things. In 2013, there was a study published in the Journal of Women's Health that did a structured analysis of 50 Shades of Grey against the CDC's actual clinical definitions of intimate partner violence. And this is not vibes. This is actual diagnosis criteria. And their finding was that the pattern of behavior between Christian and Anastasia is, quote, consistent with those typically observed in violent couples. No one's surprised. And there's a scene when Anastasia goes out with friends and comes home to 5 missed calls, a voicemail, and an email from Christian who tells her that he's not a patient man and that he doesn't tolerate being worried and that she needs to, quote, learn to manage his expectations. When I say it like that, right? When I say it, when I just like pull out these things, you're like, oh my God. And her internal reaction is, and I'm quoting here, he is suffocating me. But then it's followed immediately by her wondering if he'd want to physically hurt her and finding the thought depressing rather than alarming.
Yeah. Yep.
And she starts to hide information about where she's going. And we kind of read this as like a cute, quirky, like, oh, their relationship, right? But researchers have specifically flagged concealment of whereabouts as a recognized behavior pattern in victims of abuse.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. I say that as Amy, don't you dare hide your location from me.
She's so controlling. She calls me if I don't answer her text messages.
If I respond to a group text amongst 25 women in the
she tells me,
fitness thing,
look at your text. Respond to my text.
What are you doing responding to this one? Go respond to that one. Now, here's the part that made me kind of angry while I was writing this. And this is like bringing back like baby feminist Jack's like anger. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I am annoyed at this. But at the same time, I love dark romance. A separate study by Cullen and Carmody did the same kind of structure analysis to Twilight, the series, cataloging every controlling behavior in the book and who initiated it. Edward accounted for 75.6% of all controlling behaviors directed at Bella across the series.
Yeah.
I wonder who that other percentage was for. Jacob.
The
other man. You know? And I want to be really specific about why this matters because the move both series make is the same move. They take the controlling behavior and reframe it as protection or as love that the hero can't help.
Yeah.
In Eclipse, Bella tries to go visit her friend Jacob, who Edward has forbidden her from seeing, and she finds out Edward has sabotaged her car, so she physically can't leave. Like, I can't even.
If a woman was telling me that her husband or boyfriend was acting this way, I would tell her, you're in an abusive relationship, flee, right? Yeah. Like everything about all of these, and I've always known this, and this is why I couldn't read past the first book of 50 Shades of Grey. I was just like, this is all red flags. And you wonder why women in our age have a hard time spotting it in their partners. It's because our media told us that it was romantic.
And it's predatory. And again, it's very vampire because the vampire is like these guys are hunting their women like a predator, just like a vampire hunts their prey like a predator. And rather than turning into prey, women turn it into being chosen. And don't we want to be chosen one way? Because if we're not chosen as prey, then are we ever going to be chosen?
Yep. I'd rather be chosen as prey than not chosen at all.
Look, as someone who's 36 and closer to 37, no,
you don't.
I know. I say that. And if someone told me last night that their favorite book was The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, they didn't get a single word out before I said, no, thank you. You may leave. Okay. So it's not a metaphor. This is controlling behavior, but because Edward is gorgeous and ancient and sad about being a vampire, the book, and a huge number of readers, read that as romantic devotion. And in 50 Shades of Grey, after Christian spanks Anastasia for an eye roll and left her, quote, feeling demeaned, debased, and abused, those are her actual word is abused. Christian's response isn't to apologize. It's to tell her, no, you're sexually aroused by it because you're wet. That was a physical bodily response. Like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but if your body physically responds in a way, it does not mean you want it.
Right. You don't have control over that.
No. There are times that survivors, and in the instance, have physically orgasmed, not because they wanted to, but because like your body, you rub something long enough, it's going like there's going to be an equal thing, right?
Like, it's overstimulation.
Yeah. But Christian says, no, you liked it. You were aroused by it, meaning she secretly wanted it. And the Bonomi study calls this out directly, interpreting her reaction as her just not wanting to be, quote, ready for BDSM. Quote, it toes a dangerous line of classic victim blaming where the tables are turned back onto the victim as playing a central role in instigating abuse. That manipulation, convincing the partner that the abuse was actually something they wanted or caused, happens almost beat for beat with Edward and Bella. And I know they were fanfics of each other, but the plot isn't the same. Like, I need that to, like, just because it was a fan fiction, the characteristics were the only things that were the same, not the actual, like, plot. And honestly, it could have been Edward and Bella, and it could have been Rhys and Farah. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like generic fanfic, and it could have been anything. There's a moment where Bella kisses Edward, and he gets angry. And her response is to apologize, to blame herself for provoking him. And Scholar and Thea Taylor has this intense line about it, that Bella is taught to be, quote, responsible for the effect of men's desire.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't her desire, his desire is what she's responsible for.
It's like telling women, well, if you didn't want to be assaulted, you shouldn't have worn that outfit.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's like you're asking for it. You're the one who provoked him.
Every single video of a man complaining about what women wear to the gym because it's distracting, it's like, no, that's a you issue. Every single time a guy's like, you're just trying to tempt me away from my wife. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm existing. If that's like what's on your head, that's like, that's a you thing. I have been with such mediocre looking men and yet surrounded by very attractive men. And I was never tempted as someone who was with solid 6s.
Yeah. Sometimes less.
Amy, many times less. And I respect you for saying sometimes. That was a good friend move. Thank you.
Plot twist, it's an ad break.
So all of this connects way back to the vampire myth, because in traditional vampire stories, the victim is never blamed for the monster's hunger. No one thinks that the people Dracula bites brought it onto themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But the romantic genre takes that exact same predatory hunger, and instead of keeping the moral clarity of monster feeds victim and the victim doesn't deserve it, it flips the blame onto the women for being irresistible enough to provoke it.
Mm-hmm.
That flip, I think, is the single most damaging thing that the romance vampire hybrid does. Because even though it's blaming women, I still argue that it comes down to Dracula versus Carmilla, right? Where Dracula is so in control of himself. And these MMCs are Dracula, right? Dracula is so in control of himself so that if he ever met someone that, like, you know, made him lust for anything else, then that's clearly the woman's fault.
Right.
It's every single one of these books. It's like, I've never met a woman like you. I've never reacted like this. I've never stalked another woman before. This is a first for me. But you're the one who made me do this.
Yeah. You're just so desirable that you brought out the worst in me.
Yeah. And it's almost like, how special are you if you got Dracula to break?
Yep. Yeah.
You know? Like, that's kind of what it comes down to, right? And it's not that these books have a scary guy in them. It's that they're training these generations of readers, me included, to experience a partner's controlling behavior as proof of how much he loves you and to feel guilty, not protected when he loses control.
It does beg the question, were the first romances actually written by men expressing their desire for women and pinning the blame on them for the way that the men acted?
Yeah, I mean, let's take a beat with this, right? I think if you look back to Shakespeare, even Romeo and Juliet, Juliet was 14. And even in Shakespeare's time, that was too young. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. You know, people love quoting that. And it's like, even in Shakespeare, in Romeo and Juliet, his friends are like, bro, she's too young. You are just obsessed with Rosalind, and now you want Juliet. Like, come on, man, just don't. And it's Juliet's fault that she's so beautiful. Yeah. And it becomes her problem. Why do we still want this, though? Like, that's the question. And I think that's the right question. I am the problem. I am me. Hello. One day, I will never. But if I ever go back and rewrite this, it'll be like part 2. Why am I the problem?
Well, I mean, it's because we live in a society that never picks us.
Yeah.
We live in a society that's always against us. So to then come across a character or a person who's like, I do pick you.
Yeah.
Like any abusive or gaslighting behavior, it's easy to ignore because nobody else is treating me this way.
It also, to keep to the theme of my dissertation, we're coming into the society where the reveal is that Dracula isn't as in control as we thought, and that it's okay to be a Carmilla. So again, just keeping within theme. Because like, why is it that, like we were saying, millions of women, including both of us, eat this up at some point? And parts of my dissertation leans on this idea from post-feminist theory. And I really want to define the term cleanly because it gets misused a lot. Post-feminism isn't after feminism and feminism is over. It's a cultural moment where empowerment gets redefined in individual and often sexualized terms. You're empowered if you're sexy, if you have sexual power over men, rather than empowerment being about collective or structural change. That's a very 2000s to 2010s framework.
Yep.
And I think it does explain a lot about why these books got marketed as feminists. And again, it's like women who, if you have a claim of your sexuality, then can you use that sexuality to then be in control of this man who is not in charge of his own sexuality, who is lost control of his? Like, there's potential here. But 50 Shades of Grey was explicitly marketed as sexually empowering for women. Fun fact, I did my internship under the woman who did the original marketing for 50 Shades of Grey book in the UK. And there was this whole concept of like mommy porn branding around this, a tie-in sex toy line, a magazine coverage about the rising sex toy sales because of the book, all of which are good. More women need orgasms. And that marketing wasn't necessarily cynical or fake. Like, a lot of women did feel like reading explicit content about a woman's desire as liberating, especially compared to how sexless a lot of mainstream fiction has been. But my argument is that the empowerment marketing sits right on top of actual abuse pattern.
Right. It's marketing it as empowering, but what it's actually marketing is abuse. So allow yourself to be abused means you're in control and you're powerful, which is not accurate.
There's so many of these books, like of my like Stoker books and these like really intense books, where I think for me, as I'm like obsessing over this more, that saves it for me is there's always some kind of scene where after he stalked her and he's like so in control, she's holding a gun to his head. She has her heel on his chest. Like, there's a moment of role reversal where she gets to claim herself back. And I'm telling myself that's why I'm okay with it.
I mean, assuming that it is in every dark romance, though.
Choose to believe. No. And I do know that answer is no, because there have been plenty of dark romances where the woman has been a victim the entire time. And those are never my favorite. Like, I think in Haunting Adeline, the first book, she fights back. She is not happy about it until she's happy about it. And honestly, she's not entirely ever happy about it. But like, I feel like there's so much personality and resistance and just like fighting back to it. I have to think about the dark romances that I like and why is it? And the ones that I haven't liked, why is that? And it doesn't have to be that I don't like them, just like, why is it they're not my favorite? But I also think there's something to the idea, and this is more me extrapolating than directly quoting my dissertation, that the vampire as a hero works because he's supernatural, obviously. And the same thing is these romance books are supernatural in a way. Because like, if you met a real man, if a real man did any of the shit that these romance books guys did,
he's not ordinary.
Yeah, there's a supernatural element to these romance MMCs, even when it's not fantasy at all. And if a human man tampered with your car to stop you from seeing your friend, that's an alarm. But if he's a 109-year-old vampire whose lethal venom could kill you just by accident, by being near you, the stakes get reframed in mythic instead of domestic. The genre gives you plausible deniability. Not just the vampire genre, but the romance genre.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's not really about controlling a boyfriend. It's about fate and danger and forever, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to have these things if it's about forever, whether it's living together as immortals forever or we're getting married and we're going to be together forever.
Right.
The fantasy wrapper does a lot of work, fantasy as romantic and fantasy as the romance genre and fantasy as vampires. It does a lot of work to keep you from clocking the abuse pattern.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in A Court of Thorns and Roses, which we've talked a lot about with Tamlin. Regardless of whether you're reading a rom-com, a dark romance, or a fantasy novel, you are being asked to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah.
because we all know men don't say these cheesy ass lines. And if they do, we go,
I don't know if we like it. Yeah. Now, where does this leave romantasy? And I'm happy that you brought up ACOTAR, because I think this is actually where the podcast is in many ways.
mm-hmm.
Because romantasy is having this moment, obviously. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the genre cranking the hardest content and the most stuff out right now is the direct descendant of exactly this tradition of this like fantasy element, fated mates, soul bonding, ancient immortals, love interests who can't control themselves around the heroine. And the classic romance structure of like willing to do anything, I'll burn the world for you. And it's very Edward Cullen DNA, right?
Yeah.
Just now with fate ears.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying every romantasy book is secretly an abuse narrative. That would be really
depressing.
And also that's just like not accurate. And
Right.
Plenty of authors are doing genuinely amazing things with their books. But I do think it's worth asking every time we pick up a book of, is he dangerous, but he'd never hurt me? Kind of a romance. If we ever pick that up, where did this shape come from? What led to this book? What inspired this? Like the trickle effect, the great-great-grandfather. And what is it quietly asking us to accept as romantic? That's not a reason to stop reading the genre. I am so fucking passionate about romance and romantasy, and I think all of this is okay. It is a reason to read with your eyes open, and this is another reason why it pisses me off that people say that reading romance is just like a mind-numbing thing when you actually have like two types of thoughts and two comprehensions, like two different things of comprehension going on. So that's the thesis. The vampire and the romance heroes, they aren't cousins. They're the same person. They're the same character wearing two different costumes.
Yeah.
And the through line from Dracula to Edward Cullen to Christian Grey to half of what's on your TBR right now is a single, very old idea about what counts as masculinity, what counts as love, what counts as predatory, what counts as protection, and who gets blamed for it when it goes wrong. I have no answer, and I don't think I'll ever have an answer, and I don't think that we ever should, and I don't think literature should ever just be one thing. And that is why romance is literature, because it's more than just one thing.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we're all going to enjoy what we enjoy. People are going to enjoy Game of Thrones, even though I would never want anyone to ever be treated the way the women are treated in that series, right?
I know.
So I think as long as we can recognize the role media plays in our perception of relationships, and we can disassociate from those, what it teaches us, because it is teaching us, right? We just have to learn to clock it for what it is and say, I like this in this story, but that is not how I want to be treated or how I want to treat other people.
And I think for the most part, most readers do. And for that reason alone, these books are not anti-intellectual, which people love to accuse, because it does require a sense of understanding from the reader of what they like to read and what they would like to experience. So, fucking come at me, bro. Tell us your thoughts, guys. Whatever you guys want to know, tell us, because that was a lot of me rambling and talking, but I hope everyone enjoyed this.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
You did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Alrighty, let us wrap it. Thank you for listening to this episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Bye.
Bye.
I always forget how long summer is in California, and all of my work clothes are geared towards fall, winter. I need more summer appropriate staples.
I'm going to be going to Portugal at the end of the summer, and I need Quince to help me with summer vacation clothes because they have literally everything.
They make elevated essentials using premium materials like European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, which is my personal favorite, without the traditional retail markup.
They also have amazing shoes. I got their ballerina Mary Jane flats in brown, and I will be walking Portugal in that the entire time. They are so comfortable.
I also recently discovered that they have really fabulous 14 karat gold jewelry. Everything is subtle, delicate, and just classy. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands because they work with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen. So you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup.
Quince has everything you need, from apparel to home to bedding to bath and all of the kitchen essentials and furniture. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier.
Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk.